Testing the microphone. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank everyone for showing up today to basically appreciate a gentleman unlike any other that I've ever met, and most of us have. I'd like to let you know that this is being streamed around the world. I'd like to thank the other friends for attending remotely. Um, this is very difficult for me when I think about this gentleman, um, Dr. Donald T. Streets. Um, I just want to say welcome and thank you. Start the program.
Glory be to thee, O Lord my God. Abase not him whom thou hast exalted through the power of thine everlasting sovereignty, and remove not far from thee him whom thou hast caused to enter the tabernacle of thine eternity. Wilt thou cast away, O my God, him whom thou hast overshadowed with thy lordship? And wilt thou turn away from thee, O my desire, him to whom thou hast been a refuge? Canst thou degrade him whom thou hast uplifted, or forget him whom thou didst enable to remember thee? Glorified, immensely glorified art thou. Thou art he who from everlasting hath been the king of the entire creation, and its prime mover. And thou wilt to everlasting remain the Lord of all created things, and their ordainer. Glorified art thou, O my God. If thou ceasest to be merciful unto thy servants, who then will show mercy unto them? And if thou refusest to succor thy loved ones, who is there that can succor them? Glorified, immeasurably glorified art thou. Thou art adored in thy truth, and thee do we all verily worship. And thou art manifest in thy justice, and to thee do we all verily bear witness. Thou art in truth beloved in thy grace. No God is there but thee, the help in peril, the self-subsisting. Baha'u'llah.
والا ای خداوند منان، بنده آستان از این جهان به جهان پنهان شتافت. در ایام زندگانی از هر آلودگی پاک و مبرا و طیب و طاهر و روشن و باهر به خدمت قائم بر میثاق ثابت بود. در ملکوت ابرهایت وارد و به ملأ اعلی مؤانس فرما. علو درجات بخش و سمو مقامات شادمان فرما. در افق تقدیس نجم ساطع کن و در انجمن بالا شمع لامع فرما.
He is God, exalted is He, the Lord of loving kindness and bounty. Glory be unto Thee, Thou, O my God, the Lord omnipotent. I testify to Thine omnipotence and Thy might, Thy sovereignty and Thy loving kindness, Thy grace and Thy power, the oneness of Thy being and the unity of Thine essence, Thy sanctity and exaltation above the world of being and all that is therein. O my God, Thou seest me detached from all save Thee, holding fast unto Thee, and turning unto the ocean of Thy bounty, to the heaven of Thy favor, to the day star of Thy grace. Lord, I bear witness that in Thy servant Thou hast reposed Thy trust, and that is the Spirit wherewith Thou hast given life to the world. I ask of Thee by the splendor of the orb of Thy revelation, mercifully to accept from Him that which He hath achieved in Thy days. Grant then that He may be invested with the glory of Thy good pleasure, and adorned with Thine acceptance. O my Lord, I myself and all created things bear witness unto Thy might, and I pray Thee not to turn away from Thyself the Spirit that hath ascended unto Thee, unto Thy heavenly place, Thine exalted paradise, and Thy retreats of nearness, O Thou who art the Lord of all men. Grant then, O my God, that Thy servant may consort with Thy chosen ones, Thy saints and Thy messengers in heavenly places, that the pen cannot tell, nor the tongue recount. O my Lord, the poor one hath verily hastened unto the kingdom of Thy wealth, the stranger unto his home within Thy precincts. He that is sore athirst to the heavenly river of Thy bounty. Deprive him not, O Lord, from his share of the banquet of Thy grace, and from the favor of Thy bounty. Thou art in truth the Almighty, the gracious, the all-bountiful. O my God, Thy trust hath been returned unto Thee. It behoveth Thy grace and Thy bounty that have compassed Thy dominions on earth and in heaven, to vouchsafe unto Thy newly welcomed one Thy gifts and Thy bestowals, and the fruits of the tree of Thy grace. Powerful art Thou to do as Thou willest. There is none other God but Thee, the gracious, the most bountiful, the compassionate, the bestower, the pardoner, the precious, the all-knowing. I testify, O my Lord, that Thou hast enjoined upon men to honor their guest, and he that hath ascended unto Thee hath verily reached Thee and attained Thy presence. Deal with him then according to Thy grace and bounty. By Thy glory I know of a certainty that Thou wilt not withhold Thyself from that which Thou hast commanded Thy servants, nor wilt Thou deprive him that hath clung to the cord of Thy bounty, and hath ascended to the day star, to the day spring of Thy wealth. There is none other God but thee, the one, the single, the powerful, the omniscient, the bountiful. Baha'i.
Grant, O my Lord, sorry. Grant, O my Lord, that they who have ascended unto thee may repair unto him who is the most exalted companion, and abide beneath the shadows of the tabernacle of thy majesty and the sanctuary of thy glory. Sprinkle, O my Lord, upon them from the oceans of thy forgiveness what will make them worthy to abide so long as thine own sovereignty endureth within thy most exalted kingdom, and thine all highest dominion. Potent art thou to do what pleaseth thee. Baha'u'llah.
O my God, O thou forgiver of sins, bestower of gifts, dispeller of afflictions, verily I beseech thee to forgive the sins of such as have abandoned the physical garment and have ascended to the spiritual world. O my Lord, purify them from trespasses, dispel their sorrows, and change their darkness into light. Cause them to enter the garden of happiness. Cleanse them with the most pure water, and grant them to behold thy splendors on the loftiest mountain. Abdul-Baha.
Ô mon Seigneur, ainsi que toute chose créée, je suis témoin de ta puissance. Et je te prie de ne pas écarter de toi-même cet esprit qui s'est élevé vers toi, vers ta céleste demeure, ton paradis suprême et les retraites de ton approche. Ô toi, qui es le Seigneur de tous les hommes, permette, ô mon Dieu, que ton serviteur se joigne à tes élus, à tes saints et à tes messagers. Dans ces lieux célestes que la plume ne peut retracer et que les paroles sont impuissantes à décrire. Ô mon Seigneur, ce pauvre s'est en vérité hâté vers le royaume de ta richesse. Cet étranger vers son foyer dans ton sanctuaire, s'est altéré vers la fleuve céleste de ta bonté. Ne le prive pas, ô Seigneur, de sa part au banquet de ta grâce, ni des bienfaits de ta générosité. Tu es en vérité le Tout-Puissant, le bienveillant, le très généreux. Ô mon Dieu, ton dépôt est retourné à toi. Il convient à ta grâce et à la générosité qui ont entouré tes possessions au ciel et sur la terre, d'accorder à ton nouveau bienvenu tes dons, tes faveurs et les fruits de l'arbre de ta grâce. Tu as le pouvoir d'agir selon ta volonté. Il n'est pas d'autre Dieu que toi, le bienveillant, le très généreux, le compatissant, celui qui donne et qui pardonne, le précieux, l'omniscient. Abdul-Baha.
O my God, O my God, verily thy servant, humble before the majesty of thy divine supremacy, lowly at the door of thy oneness, had believed in thee and in thy verses, had testified to thy word, had been enkindled with the fire of thy love, had been immersed in the depths of the ocean of thy knowledge, had been attracted by thy breezes, had relied upon thee, had turned his face to thee, had offered his supplications to thee, and had been assured of thy pardon and forgiveness. He had abandoned this mortal life and had flown to the kingdom of immortality, yearning for the favor of meeting thee. O God, glorify his station, shelter him under the pavilion of thy supreme mercy, cause him to enter thy glorious paradise, and perpetuate his existence in thy exalted rose garden, that he may plunge into the sea of light in the world of mysteries. Verily, thou art the generous, the powerful, the forgiver, and the bestower. Abdul-Baha.
This is from the Hidden Word of Baha'u'llah that starts with, O Son of Justice. ای پسر انصاف، کدام عاشق که جز در وطن معشوق محل گیرد و کدام طالب که بی مطلوب راحت جوید. عاشق صادق را حیات در وصال است و موت در فراق. صدرشان از صبر خالی و قلوبشان از استبار مقدس. از 100,000 جان درگذرند و به کوی جانان شتابند.
So, as most everybody knows, Don has been a member of the Baha'i faith since he was a teenager when his family discovered this new world religion. And I'm going to recite the prayer for the dead, which is said for any Baha'i who is over the age of 15. It's the only Baha'i obligatory prayer that's recited in congregation, where one person says the prayer while everyone else who's present stands. The structure of the prayer includes 2 stanzas, and it's followed by the repetition 19 times of 6 short verses. And those verses are demarcated by the greeting Allahu Apa, which is Arabic for God is most glorious. This repetition sort of creates a tranquil environment that's conducive for remembering Dawn's streets as his soul flies to the kingdom of immortality. So if you're able, if you could stand while I recite the prayer, thank you. O my God, this is thy servant and the son of thy servant, who hath believed in thee and in thy signs, and set his face towards thee, wholly detached from all except thee. Thou art verily of those who show mercy, the most merciful. Deal with him, O thou who forgivest the sins of men and concealest their faults, as beseemeth the heaven of thy bounty and the ocean of thy grace. Grant him admission within the precincts of thy transcendent mercy that was before the foundation of earth and heaven. There is no God but thee, the ever forgiving, the most generous. Allahu Apa. We all verily worship God. 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 We all verily worship God.
We all verily worship God. We all verily worship God. We all verily worship God. We all verily worship God. We all verily worship God. We all verily worship God. We all verily worship God. Allow Apa. We all verily bow down before God. 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 Allow Apa. We all verily are devoted unto God. 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 Allow Apa. We all verily give praise unto God. 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 Allow Apa. We all verily yield thanks unto God. 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 We all verily yield thanks unto God.
We all verily yield thanks unto God. We all verily yield thanks unto God. We all verily yield thanks unto God. We all verily yield thanks unto God. We all verily yield thanks unto God. We all verily yield thanks unto God. Allow a pause. We all verily are patient in God. 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 Baha'u'llah.
Well, welcome. Thank you, everyone, for coming. And I know Dad's happy to see all of you. I'm just going to make a few remarks about my father, and I know a lot of these remarks will resonate. I was thinking about things over the last few days, and I was thinking about a family trip. All of the family took to India for a class reunion. My mother went to a Baha'i boarding school there with their siblings, and we had pulled over to. It was a small village, and I think my aunt and my mom were shopping. I think my father and myself and my uncle, we were kind of hanging out with the driver, and we were just kind of watching. There was a little shop there. They were making sandals. And there was this young kid there, and he and my father struck up a conversation. I suppose the kid knew English, and they were talking for quite a while. And after they were done talking, I think my uncle went over and they were speaking briefly to each other in Hindi. And my uncle broke out in laughter, and so I went over and I said, "What was so funny?" And he said that the kid said, "I think that's the nicest man I ever met." And I think that that essentially was my father. That was Don Squeeze. He was born in the 30s to my grandparents, Bernard and Odie Streets. He got his education initially in Indiana. Now, how did he get into education in the first place? It didn't start, as I understand it, it didn't start out as a calling. It was a gig. I mean, literally, it was simple as that. He was offered a job as a school teacher, and he took it. But I think he kind of did find his calling as the years progressed. He became a principal in Mishawaka. Then came his pursuit of his graduate degrees in education. Then came his teaching position as a professor of education at UMass. And then came his contribution to the Anisa model of education. And through all of this, I think there was one underlying principle that was true of my dad. He loved being around fellow educators and teachers. And he loved being around people who used their brains and really knew how to think and express themselves. He was attracted to those people. he'd say it to me all the time when he was talking about somebody. He would say, Ramin, you really like this person. They have a brain. And now I think his contribution to the Anisa model of education is by now pretty well established and known. So I won't elaborate on it here because in truth, it's just not in my wheelhouse. It was his wheelhouse. But I have to say, my hope is that as years pass and our collective cultures start again to place a higher value on education, that his body of work will find its place in the firmament. He and I, in more recent years, would talk at length about the importance of leaving behind a body of work. And for me, it's always been songs, both written and recorded. That's my passion. But for him, it was his papers on education. And in recent years, he really started to cultivate that more and to get the work into the right hands. As a father, let me just say this. We should all be so lucky to have a dad like him. My earliest childhood memories go back to the early 70s in Shutesbury, Massachusetts. And Dad was such a fan of anything Scandinavian that, of course, he owned a Saab. And wherever he drove our family in that car, the old 8-track cassette player always seemed to rotate around Rachmaninoff, Chopin, Debussy, and of course, the Peer Gynt suites by Edward Grieg. What a gift. To hear that music at that age means to have some of the most beautiful memories ever written wafting its way in and out of your consciousness, pretty much for life. And that's not bad. Any interests we had growing up, music, in my brother's case, sports, were supported completely. Piano lessons, guitar lessons, drum lessons, tennis, baseball, and he was there for all of them. He stewarded us into college, driving me from Escondido to Irvine, California late on a weeknight for the piano trials that ultimately got me into university. And we traveled a lot. My father took our family all over the world. He opened our eyes and broadened our perspectives on life and people that we otherwise would never know. And for me, that broadening of perspective, that curiosity, continues up to this very moment. You see, when you've known someone and engaged in long, thoughtful conversations with that person for decades, I think that person really starts to live in your head a little bit. You know how they would feel or what they would have to say about almost anything. The conversation still continues. And for me, this is what will make his physical absence bearable. Dad used to like quoting Alfred North Whitehead a lot, and as well as The Little Prince, the book The Little Prince. So I will close my comments with both. You know, there's a quote from Whitehead where he says, "From the very beginning of education, the child should experience the joy of discovery." And I think that was in Dad's DNA, and I know he imparted that to his children. My guess is he also imparted that concept to his colleagues and friends throughout the world, all the days of his life. Take joy in your learning. From The Little Prince, it's not a quote, it's more of a portion in the book where a conversation unfolds between the prince and the fox. And the prince asks the fox to come play with him. And the fox replies, "I can't because I am not tame." And the prince asks, "What does tamed mean?" And the fox replies, "It means to create ties, to need each other. Instead of merely being one of the countless many, rather you are the only one. Creating ties." Dad was good at it. I want to thank everybody again for coming. We're going to lower the casket now, and then I believe you're going to be handed flowers that you can put into the casket. And that will close out our ceremony. Thank you.
friends, while they're lowering the casket, I just wanted to remind some people that didn't know about it. We're going to have more of a casual ceremony over at Wildflower, which is a place that John loves. So we have a room reserved. It's a private room. And if anyone would like to join, we'd be more than happy. It's the one on Indian Bend and Scottsdale Road. Yeah, crossing the train.